Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and we have a question from a friend of the channel, David. I'm gonna read it into the record. We're gonna answer it. He probably doesn't frankly need my answer. I think he's probably just asking this question for your benefit because he spends a lot of time. He's up on the employment laws. I'll say that. All right, here we go. This is a question that David is asking for his coworkers about a privacy concern. It was actually prompted by the recent Zoom recording video I did. His coworkers came to David, and they had incriminating pictures of a colleague wasting time on his phone. He was standing at his workstation, glued to the phone, and he was doing so for minutes on end, and at a time which they can positively confirm he wasn't on break. David had expressed the fact that because the colleague was not in an area, such as a bathroom or a locker room, where a person has a reasonable expectation of privacy, David did not feel anything was wrong with their taking pictures of this individual. However, he advised they find out first if any policy of the employer actually prohibits recording, taking pictures in the job site, anything like that, and how the employer feels about someone doing something of that nature before they actually bring it to the attention of someone in management. Aside from any policy prohibiting it, did the coworkers violate the privacy of their time-wasting colleague who hadn't been in an area where he would have a reasonable expectation of privacy? Okay. So, first off, for the coworkers, don't be a narc. What's wrong with you? Unless, of course, your coworker is so lazy that his failure to complete work is harming you. That's a different story. But in general, we could all just go ahead and not be citizen informers. If you see something, say something. It should really only apply to like terrorism and like dangerous things. We don't necessarily need to be running around getting people fired, right? Like that's always something that takes people back when they call me. They're like, my employer has people who are out of status for their immigration working for us. And I'm like, cool. Yeah, keep that on the down low. Like, but that's illegal. Like, sure. Yeah. It's also something that makes America, like, keep running. So, like, be decent about it. People's lives are hanging on the balance. And people get kind of mad at me. So, maybe I'm not going to feel the same way you feel about, narking on your coworkers. This is not directed at David. I'm actually just teasing his coworkers. I suspect this individual was so lazy that he or she was hurting other employees, right? Hurting their peers. At that point, that's a different story. And I get it. I get why you would be like, look, take a picture of this lazy jerk, right? I agree with David. I don't think there's any issue legally of taking a picture of someone in a public space. Now, if you're going to use it for journalism or you're going to use your likeness for something, that's a different story, but we're going to set that aside. This is just you being like, look, boss, Jack's lazy, right? Generally going to be legal in most jurisdictions. Now, David's point is that the employer might have a policy against that. I will give you a couple of examples. Hospitals and schools almost always have policies against that. They are super leery of HIPAA information or footage of children being taken and released. I represented many teachers who took pictures of their class, not thinking, and then the principal or the superintendent was like, hey, we've told you like 30 times not to do that. What's wrong with you? You got to go, right? Like one of those things. So like David's instinct here, like check the policies of the workplace, spot on, as always. And I think this is a useful discussion. I think, right? Like, there's going to be circumstances where you want to take a picture of a coworker. Or, a lot of my clients want to videotape the person who's discriminating against them or the person who's sexually harassing them, right? Like, I get that. And if you can get that videotape, it could be very valuable. Just make sure you're complying with the rules of your jurisdiction and potentially with the policies of your workplace. Thank you, David. I hope this answer lived up to your expectations, and you were right, as always. As always. like and subscribe. It helps me to help more people just like you. And comment down below. If you have further questions on this topic, I will track those questions and I will answer those comments. Maybe with a new video, maybe in text down below.